good people of the internet? Dan Tortora here with you, hanging out where sports truly meets that thing called life. I hope you're having a wonderful morning this morning, and we are, this is a very special day. This is an awesome day for me, and I can't wait to celebrate it with you. You can see my jersey, and it says Italy, and it says 11. Now, God works in really incredible and mysterious ways, and I say that because I bought this jersey many years ago. I think I bought it when I was in high school. So I hadn't started my business. I hadn't started my career. And I said to myself, I was like, on July 20th, 2023, my business turns 11 years old. And then yesterday, I said to myself, I think that Italy jersey has an 11 on it. I got to find that, Italy jersey and make sure that it's got an 11. And if it's got an 11, then then God once again in my life has set me up to succeed and set me up with this kind of surprise, buying it in high school and then having it mean so much now, because obviously I'm Italian and Spanish, and so having that connection, I thought to myself, I was like, if that jersey really has an 11 on it, God was playing the long game. I got that jersey. I think I got this jersey at Dave & Buster's or J.C. Penney's or something, like Dave & Buster's. Not Dave & Buster's. I can't remember the name, but was that store. It starts with a B. I can't remember. It sounded like Dave & Buster's, but it was something like that. But I either got it there or I got it at J.C. Penney, and to me, something inside of me yesterday was like, I think it's got a number 11 on it, because that's how God works. Of course I would buy this in high school, and God would be playing this, like I said, long game. And I bought it at, let's say 15 years old or 16 years old. And then you fast forward, I'm 37, it's 2 decades later, and I've owned my business for 11 years, and I'm Italian, and what does the jersey have on it? A number 11. Because when I bought it, I was looking for a different number. I was like, I'm not number 11. So, I find it all too poetic and all too amazing and all too real to me. That's, things always happen to come together. So, getting this Italy jersey and having it have an 11 on it, and then when I get to celebrate 11 years of Dan Tortora Broadcast Media being open, to have this jersey have an 11 is really special to me, and it was really cool. So, I just want to make mention of that this morning, but I'm happy to be here with you, happy to hang out on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on YouTube.com and Facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT, on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. So what a wonderful opportunity we have to be with you every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time worldwide. You can listen literally from anywhere. I think you could even listen from the space station, right? As long as they can grab the signal, they should be able to listen up there as well. So wherever you are, thank you so much for tuning in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life. And of course, once the show is live, it jumps into our archives, and you can find so many wonderful connections to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, YouTube, MixLR, Podbean, Podvine, Player FM, Podchaser, Boomplay. You can connect with us in many different ways on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, simply by searching on your favorite podcasting platforms, Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. So however you're connected with us, we thank you so much for being a part of the show. I'm ecstatic that we get to be here with you this morning, and I can't even say enough. 11 years. I have so much to say about it, and I know we have a lot to get into today, but I have so much to say about 11 years, and I'll be celebrating this not just today. I'll be celebrating this moment for the rest of my life. I had a lot of things stand in my way, and it wasn't easy. And at the same time, I had more things working for me. When they say, when God is for you, who can be against you? And God's been for me the whole time. different state, different radio station, different platform, different people, and God's always had my back, and we've always figured it out, and we've made it work, we've made it our own, we've made it special, and I'm thankful for that. I'm really thankful that my God didn't give up on me, and I'm not working a job that I don't like. I'm not doing something I don't believe in. I'm not chasing money. I'm not chasing fame. I'm not chasing power. I'm not chasing notoriety. I'm chasing my dreams. I'm taking care of that little kid, that kid that looks up at me every so often and smiles and reminds me that I'm doing the right thing. And, that's all you can do. So, am I surprised that my jersey has an 11 on it? No, because that's how God works in my life. 11, am I surprised that we're 11 years old today? No, because I believe in myself. Am I grateful, and can I believe it's been 11 years? I'm totally grateful, and no, I can't believe it's been 11. And, we officially became a company, Dan Tortora Broadcast Media, in July 20th, 2012. And it was right after I moved home. So we've been doing this together, you and I, all of the wonderful businesses that we get to work with, all of the wonderful student athletes and coaches and administration and everybody in the community and everyone we get to meet, moms, the dads, the brothers, the sisters, the aunts, the uncles, the grandparents, the significant others. This journey is not alone. We take this together, and I've gotten to meet so many people. My world has gotten so small in a beautiful way, and I can't be more thankful for that. I'm very touched, and, I'm honored. I'm honored to be here. I'm honored to be alive. I'm honored to have not given up on myself. I'm honored that I banked on myself and, that I only let the haters be rocket fuel for me. And they continue to be rocket fuel for me. I love being hated because if following your dreams and believing in God and being the best person you can be and trusting yourself and trying and growing and blossoming and learning and challenging yourself and being creative and being unique and being different, if all of that's wrong, then I don't want to be right. And if I've learned anything in these 11 years of owning my business, it's that when you love something, you'll do everything. And when you don't love something, when you think you love something, you won't do much. And I love this. I love every part of it. Even the tough days, even the hard parts. To run into my closet and find this Italy jersey and believe that it had an 11 on it and then know God well enough to know that it did. That's worth it. To get to 11 years and be able to put this jersey on and for it to have more meaning than it's ever had in my life. Probably the longest I've worn the jersey. And here we are. So, we're going to take a step aside for a fast break. We're going to come back inside of MonPausPopcorn.com's What's Poppin' with Jared Mosley. Jared Mosley, the VP and Director of Athletics at the University of North Texas for the Mean Green. He's going to join us in our continuation of my American Athletic Conference Spotlight Series, A New Era, coming up in just a moment. And in hour number 2, Papa Joe is going to join us, as he always does, on Thursdays from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. He'll be joining us today to speak on the Shohei Ohtani Sweepstakes, Major League Baseball, as well as putting together a Jaguars 53-man roster and a few notes here on horse racing. That's all coming up right after this on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. He kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, inside of where sports meets life. You know that we have had a connection to the American Athletic Conference since its institution. Before a name, before a logo, I was talking with Commissioner Mike Oresco when the Big East was transitioning, the old Big East, to what we now know as the American Athletic Conference. And as we hit the 10-year anniversary, they just felt like making history, adding 6 new institutions in all sports and becoming the largest they've ever been as a conference for the American. So in this new era series we're doing with the American Athletic Conference on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, it's my honor and privilege to focus this special on North Texas, the University of North Texas. You know them as UNT. Some of you know them as the Mean Green, North Texas spelled out, however you want to call it. They are a school led by Jared Mosley, Vice President and Director of Athletics, on site, on location at the University of North Texas. I love the hashtag #TakeFlightUNT, and so we got a lot of stuff to talk about here today with Jared for the first time as a guest on the show. Jared, how are you?
Doing great, Dan, and certainly appreciate you having us, and we're certainly excited about the opportunity to join the American Athletic Conference. So many positive things, and as we try to grow our athletic department that we felt were a tremendous fit. So we're excited and appreciate the opportunity to be with you.
Absolutely. And Jared, first and foremost, why did you think the American saw what was the value, in your opinion, that can be seen in North Texas? Because I know when everything came about and the decision came to fruition on my birthday, October 21st, 2021, Ren Baker was leading the athletic department. So, obviously he was seeing that transition, and then you come in here within the last few months. What is it about North Texas that you believe is so enticing to the American Athletic Conference?
Yeah, I think there's so many, when you look at the boxes that you would need to check for, your attractiveness to conference affiliation. We're a Carnegie Tier 1 research institution, over 45,000 students, and probably one of the most vibrant markets, across the country. DFW is a tremendous location, not only from exposure, but when you look at where we get to recruit from and our call home base there, like just a lot of positives. We've invested heavily in athletics over the last 7 years to try to put ourselves in a position where we were competing, in the top end of Conference USA, and trying to do that at a level where, we felt like if an opportunity did present itself, you certainly had the ability to have an option that sets you up for success. I mean, at the end of the day, you want to be in conferences that are attractive to your fans, that elevate the brand of your institution, but that you can jump into and you see a path to be able to compete for championships, which is what we want to provide for our student athletes. And so, I just feel like the timing of all those things and just the momentum we've had as an institution really made a lot of sense when this opportunity presented itself.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, seeing everything that you have to offer, what attracted you? I mean, when you talk about what you think attracted the American, why did you want to lead this athletic department specifically at the University of North Texas?
I was fortunate. I arrived here with Ren shortly after his hire back in 2016, and so one of the things that I think has been extremely helpful is I was a part of day one, just kind of his vision to get our athletic program in the place it is today. And we don't always get to necessarily pick, which conferences we go to. You have to have invitations, but our job as athletic administrators to make sure that we position our institution as best we can for when opportunity does strike. And I'm very fortunate to have kind of been a part of that roadmap and understanding the plan that got us to where we are today. And, I think the opportunity to lead through this transition is really exciting. I mean, it's one that we kind of have a blueprint that worked for us, and moving, from the bottom third of Conference USA to the top third, and that blueprint's not going to change. The one thing I do feel we're fortunate in is we've been aggressive and been able to get some momentum on the resource side. So we're not coming in at the bottom of the heap, in the American. So I feel like there is a path for us to position ourselves for success long term, in the new conference.
Yeah, and when we look at success to build upon, there's my kind of connection in recent history to North Texas. I go back because I'm a big NCAA tournament guy. And when I cover the tournament and I tell you that we do a bracket challenge and I break down the bracket, I'm telling you, Jared, when there's 68 teams are announced, I do a show on these 68 teams, so that when you're filling out your bracket, if you watch Wake Up Call, you cannot have the excuse that I didn't know something about this team. We talk about every team, who they beat, what they did, what's notable to know. And I go back to the NCAA tournament when North Texas got their first ever NCAA tournament win in men's basketball as a 13 seed up against 4-seeded Purdue, overtime, back in 2021. Kind of ironic because it was in March of 2021 And then in October of 2021, it's the announcement of joining the American. So I'm sure it didn't hurt that you were able to be out there against the Big Ten, be on that stage, and get that victory. And I would love for you to share your thoughts on that night when North Texas was a school that was on, all over the place in replays and became one of those teams, one of those bracket busters that was talked about for days. And really, honestly, that spotlight moment on the Mean Green made me stop and think, I want to know who these guys are all about. I mean, I want to know what this is all about. And that team specifically really hit me a certain kind of way, to the point where after that, I was like, I just want to see them keep winning. So I'd love for you to give your thoughts on that moment in history.
No, that was such a phenomenal opportunity for our institution, and more so for our student athletes. I mean, I think when you talk about the magnitude of March Madness and you see teams like we had, that year, and even, the COVID year was a tough year, with everything getting shut down, but we had felt like, Coach McCaslin and his staff had done a great job of building the type of program that year in, year out could compete in March Madness. I think that's one of the tough parts of this job is you play in conferences and how tough, that conference was in basketball, and always probably 2 or 3 teams that deserved the opportunity to show itself and what it could do in the postseason. And so for our young men to get that chance and to capitalize on it was just phenomenal. And, you just realize on, the grind of a season to watch kids be able to cut down nets and to be able to have that moment where, I mean, making the tournament's a big deal, but you win a game. I mean, that very few people get a chance to experience that. And so, the momentum we got from that, and then, even in this past season, being able to capitalize on winning an NIT championship, it certainly cements in my mind our ability to build programs here that can compete on the national stage.
Yeah, and speaking here with Jared Mosley, once again, VP and Director of Athletics on site at the University of North Texas, the Mean Green joining the American, and this being Wake Up Call's new era series of the American Athletic Conference. I was going to get into that. The 2 years later, first time ever NIT champions, and you play a foe that you know all too well in Conference USA and UAB. Rice was also in the NIT. And so you see these 3 schools that are going into the American in the NIT. The championship of the NIT was going to be some future American as the champion and the runner-up. You win. You face off against UAB. Charlotte wins the CBI. FAU makes their first ever Final Four. You got 5 out of the 6 teams going in, making some moves here. And there was a chance that every single postseason tournament in men's basketball was going to be won by a team going to the American Athletic Conference with how close FAU got. Just what it says about not only North Texas, but about the future of the American Athletic Conference, with all of these teams coming in, winning championships, be it the CBI, the NIT, or in FAU's case. Really, honestly, in my opinion, a bad call away from going on to the championship.
No, I think there's already, rich tradition and history, in the American Athletic Conference when it comes to not just basketball. I mean, really across all of their sports, they've done very well. But I think when you look at the institutions coming in, I'm excited. I think it's going to be a tough league, but one that, night in, night out, fans are going to really get an opportunity to see high level of basketball played. And, I know our coaches and staff are, looking forward to the opportunity to have some new opponents in at the Super Pit and to expose our fans to, again, some of the great history and tradition, that there has been in the American Athletic Conference.
And as you had spoken about before, with your connection to North Texas and working under Ren Baker, I mean, coming in September 2016 and serving for more than 6 years before taking over now as the VP and Director of Athletics, you're the Associate VP and Chief Operating Officer. There was a lot of different things that you worked on, from financial to operational, administrative services, looking at strategic initiatives, as well as human resource issues, event management, student services, marketing, promotions, strategic communications. There's a lot to be said there with you developing the message and making sure that that sticks in marketing. It sticks with your student athletes on the human resource side when it comes to facilities. I mean, you were really working all of the angles of North Texas, which I can imagine made it advantageous for them to take you in the role that you had and to elevate you to the VP and director of athletics. And just what you could say about the wealth of knowledge and wisdom that you gained over more than 6 years that provided for you to lead this athletic department with what I think was more than enough experience to understand who the Mean Green are and who the Mean Green are going to be.
No, I'd have to start and say I think one of the most valuable pieces is we've had an unbelievable team in place here at UNT, that Ren put together during his time here. And I think anytime you face transition, when you have things going well, you've got opportunities to keep momentum going and some continuity, and then you get to fast track kind of through. I tell people it's kind of the blessing and curse of being an internal candidate is there's times I wish I'd have had the 6-month hit pause, listen to everybody, kind of get your wits about you, enjoy the moment of being, having the opportunity to be, the director of athletics. But, the reality was with a transition going on, we had multiple hires we had to make. Like you look at just all the things that have transpired in our first 5 months, the ability to have an executive team that we've worked together for a number of years and are all on the same page and lockstep with kind of where we need to take this thing. And then all these things coming at you, you're just able to have a sense of, I never felt stressed or frantic in that process. I felt like we had a great, again, roadmap already in place that we just had to go out and execute. And so, I think, if you look at had we had a massive turnover or transition across our staff, I think there are probably certain moments of this transition that we probably would not have hit the same way because you'd have had somebody else coming in just trying to figure out where to start and where to go from here. And so it was certainly a benefit, and I'm thankful for that opportunity.
Garrett Mosley here at the University of North Texas, VP and Director of Athletics on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora in our American Athletic Conference New Era series with 6 new institutions coming in to give them their most membership ever. And when we look at football, 14 members overall, 15 in connection, Navy and football only, Wichita State and everything but football, and North Texas being a full member in all of their athletic programs. Speaking of athletic programs, I'm going to go take you back here. We're going to go down memory lane to Abilene Christian here. And I know Abilene Christian because you also hear about, the NFL talent that can come out of there as well. You played basketball for them, when you finished up 11th on the all-time list at Abilene Christian as far as being a scorer and 8th leading rebounder in school history, Bachelor's of Science degree in 2000, Master's in Education Administration in 2003. And then, we look from there, Associate Athletic Director from 2001 to 2003, and then the Director of Athletics at Abilene Christian for a decade from 2004 to 2014. Bring me into being a student athlete, playing basketball at Abilene Christian, then moving on to work in their athletic department before taking over as their Director of Athletics for a decade.
I tell people all the time, one, I had a fantastic experience as a student athlete, at Abilene Christian, and certainly my time there really shaped the person I am today. A lot of tremendous people there who poured into me, early in my career and kind of helped, guide me down the path of athletics. Originally, I thought I wanted to coach and be an old man and eventually move into administration, but had an opportunity to slide into the administrative side fairly early. But again, just had a tremendous experience there. And I tell people all the time, the opportunity to go back to your alma mater and to serve as an athletic director, to be able to, create and have a part in the type of life-changing experiences that we can, when done right, provide to young men and women. It was the opportunity of a lifetime. And I learned so much in that job, that you get that job when you're 27. You really have no clue what you're doing, but But you learn so much, certainly at a smaller institution where you have to wear a lot of hats. You have to roll up your sleeves and really, get in the details of what's going on in order to be successful. And, to be able to kind of cut my teeth in a situation again with a lot of great coaches and people who get you, help you along the way. It was tremendous. And I think looking at my experience, similar to Ren's, coming up in a smaller Division II program, I think it certainly shapes the way that you approach leading an athletic department. And it's certainly, I think given me some insight, stepping into this opportunity here and kind of how I lead and how I engage with our coaches and our staff.
I mean, you're a native of Lockney, Texas. You go to Abilene Christian. You work in the athletic department, as we spoke about, and then take over as director of athletics for a decade. Then you go to the Texas Sports Hall of Fame, chief executive officer and president from 2014 to 16. Then you come to North Texas. So we have seen you as a student athlete, a native, and an administrator in the state of Texas. What has it been like for you to not only rise up the ranks to where you are right now, leading the athletic department at the University of North Texas, but to spend all of this time in the state of Texas, just what that's meant to you to be in the Lone Star State for your collegiate student and athletic careers. And then from here on out, you've stayed in the Lone Star State.
I may be one of the few in all of college athletics who's had the ability to not have to cross state lines, for a job and to move up in my path. And so, again, God's blessed me with a lot of tremendous opportunities. I will say I've had some people early on that kind of pointed me in a direction. I had a mentor of mine, tell me, he said, "Hey, you need to sit down. In the world of athletics, you can chase a lot of different opportunities, but it doesn't mean every opportunity is right." And, he said, "Hey, sit down and really try to decide what are the criteria you're going to look for that are important to you in your career, with your family, all the dynamics that come into play." And he said, really try to whittle down the criteria for what you're looking for. Because he said, you don't want to take a bad job in the heat of the moment just because it's exciting and you feel wanted. Really try to, roadmap those types of things. And so for me, geography was always, I didn't imagine I'd have the opportunity to just do it in Texas, but it's worked out that way. And it's been a huge blessing for us. And it's kept us close to our family, but we've also been, from ACU to the Texas Sports Hall of Fame, now that are doing, a lot of great things across the board.
Yeah. And being there in the state of Texas, you hear it in the South all the time, God and family. And then, you hear from a lot of people, God, family, football, but God, family, athletics, whatever it may be. You brought up blessings. You brought up God. I don't push it on the show as far as, I've never been the person to push my faith on anybody, but I'm also not a person to hide it. So I tell people, believe whatever you want to believe, but I got a picture of Jesus staring at me in the studio right now. I have the Serenity Prayer on my wall. Everything I got a cross around my neck. Everything that I am and will ever become has a connection to God, and I am nothing without him. So if you would oblige me at least, to just share your faith and why you feel comfortable saying God has blessed me, and to bring up, words like that when it comes to faith, because we live in a country where it's not as openly spoken about. So when somebody says it, I'm like, yay, it's not just me. So I would love to get your thoughts on it.
No, hey, faith is a cornerstone of who I am. It was instilled in me early in my life from my parents. Very fortunate to have been raised in a home where that was a priority. In my own journey, like going to, Abilene Christian University, which is, a phenomenal faith-based institution where it's in the fabric and DNA of everything that they do. And I had the opportunity to be around coaches and administrators who led with intentionality around that. And so, it has been a huge part of my life. And so my faith is extremely important to me. Much like you, I'm not going to push it on anybody, but it is what I lean on in every decision I make, and every opportunity that's presented. And I know the opportunities I have been because of, some people may call it good fortune and luck, but I feel like God's orchestrated, whether it's been through people or, just encouragement or introductions. I mean, I can point to very specific interactions that were nothing that made sense from a guy coming from, a little 2,000 people population in Lockney, Texas, in remote parts of West Texas, to be able to have the life experiences I've had. He's certainly orchestrated a great life. And I want to use the platform. I think athletics, to be honest, is one of the most unique occupations to have, in that we get to work with a variety of people from a variety of backgrounds. And I just want to steward that well. I want to make sure that we can leverage the lessons that can be learned in and through sports to help shape people's life and create better citizens and people who are equipped to go out and lead in what is a little bit of a crazy world right now, and to do that in a way that brings, stability and a sense of pride for those of us who get to call, this home. And so, again, faith's important, and will always be a cornerstone of what I lead with.
Yeah, and I mean, you hit the nail on the head in my life. I don't call them coincidences. I call them God incidences, because there's no way that I just happened upon the people that I met, the situations, the places that I was at the perfect time, something that was said, something that happened. That there's no way to say that everything was all by mistake. And, I know that God has done a lot for me in my life, and I appreciate it, including this conversation. I'm going to walk away from this conversation saying to myself, that was really fun to hear, someone else, to hear Jared talk about his journey, and to talk about how it's a cornerstone, and that it still is, right? Because you could have lost it along the way in a paycheck. You could have lost it in notoriety, in power, and you didn't. And I think, nobody walks a straight line in faith perfectly, but to know that you're still on that walk after everything you've been through and all the opportunities that have come your way, that says a lot about you, that you're not sitting there with a spotlight on yourself saying, look at how awesome I am, because some people do get lost in the spotlight.
No, and I think back to my own life, like the two things that have shaped it, and really where I choose to kind of spend a lot of my time and energies. I've been very fortunate to have experienced a lot of love and a lot of grace in my life. And so when you're leading an athletic department, you're getting the opportunity to grow with 18 to 22-year-olds in some of the most transformative parts of their life. Like, you want to lead with love and love on people well, but you also want to be mindful that we all need grace, and be there to encourage people when they need a little pickup. So it's a fun opportunity for me to be a part of an experience through college athletics that certainly left a big imprint on my own life, to be able to now move that and pass that on to student athletes for as many years as I've got left in me.
For you, what's exciting about it? I mean, to be VP and Director of Athletics at the University of North Texas, why does that energize you? Why does it bring you to work every day? What is it about the interaction with the student athletes and the coaches and all of the different programs? Because, I mean, I've had the blessing of, people talk about football all the time when it comes to college, right? But we've covered everything on here, from rowing to volleyball to soccer, lacrosse, baseball, softball, field hockey, basketball, football, so on and so forth, swimming and diving. So I've gotten to know so many different student athletes, and you have to have a love and a passion and a drive to get you up in the morning, or else you struggle to do it. So why do you get up? Why do you come to work? Why do you enjoy this job?
Yeah, I think it's easy for us today to look around at all the things that are outside of our control and think the world's coming to an end in college athletics. And really, we talk about the topics that are impacting the very, very few at the top of the heap. And I just remind people, like, you look at the number of student athletes that there are in, take NAIA all the way up through every level of the NCAA, Division 1, 2, and 3. I tell people all the time, my passion for what I wake up every day, like, I treat this just like a classroom. Like, I think what we provide students in a pathway to get an education, something that's going to serve them the rest of their life, like that's not a guess on whether that impacts people's lives. It changes generations, and it's a great platform. But I also know that, and I tell people, it's no knock on what takes place in the formal classroom, but I think when done right, college athletics for a lot of our student athletes will be the most important classroom they ever set foot in every day. I mean, you've got people that are around them more than any professor, faculty member, staff member. Like, you've got an ability to help shape and put somebody on a path that is going to set them up for the rest of their life. And so I think when you view it like that, and you're not viewing it as, worried about the wins and the losses and all that stuff. I come back to a quote that, I share. My staff's probably tired of me saying it, but when I got this job, I was really thinking through, when I had my first interaction, to tell our staff, what's our platform and what are we trying to do. I was working out one morning listening to a John Maxwell podcast, and he says, success happens to you, significance happens through you, and once you've tasted significance, success will never satisfy. And I'm a firm believer, if we take care of providing significance back to people, whether that's student athletes, coaches, donors, alumni, the success part's the byproduct of that. And so, my goal is as a department, I hope that we're operating at a level that we're providing significance back to everybody we serve. And when we do, the wins come. Everybody wants to be a part of a culture where they feel they're appreciated, loved, they're excited about, all those things that when you've been in a good organization, you know what it is. And when you've been in a bad one, you realize what it is. And so I want to spend my time and energy not getting too caught up in, wins will always be important in athletics because it's what we're measured by. But I truly feel like when we're doing all those other things right, you're creating an environment for success to happen naturally.
Yeah, the definition of significance, the quality of being worthy of attention or importance. When you hear that definition, what does that say to you? Significance, the quality of being worthy of attention or importance.
I think when you're providing significance to people, you're providing value back. Like, it's, I do. It kind of gets back to, whether even things as simple as giving. Like, I try to, in the things I support and give to, I don't get too caught up in, I try to give with no expectation of anything in return. And I feel like when you're in the business of relationships, which we are in college athletics, whether that's trying to increase engagement with fans, when you do that authentically and you're doing it with, I want to do something to make your life better, easier, your diploma more valuable, and I'm not expecting anything in return, those things tend to come back. I mean, I don't, and so I tend to try to focus on those areas where we can provide that value and that worth, back to people, because I just think it's a life principle, one that I've experienced and I believe in. But I've been around too many really good teams. The ones that have cultures that last, they've got leaders at the top who are focused on the little things around significance.
Yeah, giving something meaning, letting people know that they matter.
Yeah.
Because success, like you said, success comes and goes, it's fleeting when you come to wins and losses, because even the best teams are going to look at the Patriots now. So, it comes, and look at the Cowboys. I'm sorry, Dallas. A lot of people just got really mad. But I was like, I grew up watching them and loving those teams, and it's been a long time since the mid-90s. But success in wins and losses will come and go, but significance, like you said, the art of making someone feel important and seen, that will last a lifetime. And if somebody feels that they have meaning in what they do, they have purpose in what they do, and they're valued, those people will fight for you and for the mission and for themselves and their dreams forever. You know, you could get somebody to fight for a season, but to get somebody to fight for a lifetime, you let them know that they have meaning, they have worth, and that God, even in identical twins, nobody's truly ever the same. So if you have that DNA footprint that's only yours, and you have that special meaning, and that meaning is shown and magnified by the leaders that you have, like in your case as a VP and director of athletics, then you're going to want to fight and you're going to want to win. And when you graduate, you're going to want to come back to North Texas, and you're going to want to wear mean green, and you're going to scream as loud as you can at games, and you're going to be a part of it forever. You know, significance creates forever. Success creates temporary. That's how
that might be the perfect way to put it. And I think in the world of athletics, I mean, you mentioned it, it's cyclical. So it doesn't matter how good you are, you're going to have a down year or two. And at the end of the day, like, we're going to be measured. Like, if all you can tout and people can say about you is the number of wins in a column or number of championships, and people hated you in the process of doing that, you really hadn't accomplished anything in this life. So those types of things are fleeting and they are temporary. And so chasing something that, provides value back to others. It's what I pray every morning, that whether it's my own kids at home and my wife, or, somebody he puts in front of me, that I'm putting myself in a position to just be a good steward of, the things he's given to me in abundance, which is, like I said, a lot of love and a lot of grace.
Coming here from Jared Mosley, speaking a lot of truth and a lot of positivity here on Wake Up Call in our American Athletic Conference New Era series as we step toward history. Before we play something that Jared doesn't know about until right now, before we play Rapid Fire, where you and I will go away from the football world, the basketball world, your history, anything. We're going to get away from sports. We're going to jump right into getting to know you better, getting to know me better. We'll put each other on the hot seat. But before we do that, 2 final points. The American is blank as we step forward. How do you fill in the blank of what the American is becoming with you joining the other 5 institutions and every one of the incumbents? What is the American on the precipice of becoming?
I mean, I think it's dynamic. I mean, I think you've got, a number of institutions that are very similar to us, and that we are investing heavily. We're experiencing success. We're on an upward trajectory. You look at the institutions that are coming in with us and just their markets and their growth. Like, I think it's a dynamic conference that'll continue to thrive.
And the last one before rapid fire. To someone who's never been to Denton, Texas, how would you describe Denton to somebody who knows nothing about the community?
Denton, I think, is probably one of the best college towns, in the country. We're on the outskirts of Dallas-Fort Worth. So we definitely have our own vibe, very much kind of an arts and music town, a lot of live music, a lot of really great food spots that aren't chains, a lot of mom and pop local business owners who have poured their life into creating a really cool place. And I think, when you look at the number of college students you have not only University of North Texas and our 45,000 students, you've got Texas Women's University, you've got it's a college town. There's a lot of youth in the community, and so it definitely has that feel, just like any other great place you could. Place to have that college town feel. We've got the luxury to drive 30 minutes and get anything we wanted to in the big city, but it definitely has a really cool vibe, and it's a great place to raise your family.
Love it. They should use you to be the spokesperson for it, for all those PSAs, all those commercials. So with that being said, Jared, we're going to play rapid fire. We're going to do 3 apiece. We'll go back and forth. You get to ask me first.
What team are you most looking forward to covering in the American Athletic Conference?
Oh man, that's not fair. So, it's so difficult because any of the schools in the American, right, like the incumbents, they would tell you that I've covered them all equally. And I just love,
Any locations you haven't been that you look forward to?
yeah. I
to
mean,
being,
so I would say, yeah, there's a bunch. So I mean, Charlotte's one of my favorite cities. Been that way for a while. My Charlotte FC, my MLS team is there. So, I haven't been doing, I've covered obviously the last couple of years UNC Charlotte, but I know Charlotte. So, I'd never been to Dallas, Fort Worth, or Arlington before. Never been to those areas. Earlier this year, covering Tulane, seeing them beat USC. What's up? And so going and watching that, and after it, there's a bunch of media people running up to Mike Oresco. He moves everybody out of the way and he goes, Dan, and he gave me a huge hug and he's like, this is great. So, that was really cool to experience that with Mike and with Tom and everybody out there. So, I think returning to the Dallas area and having the Cowboys be my second favorite team, with the Jaguars be my first, that's cool to do that for the AAC summer kickoff. I'm excited for that. But I will say this is what I will say, because I know where you were trying to lead me, and this is what I want to know. So I'm going to say that I'm excited to come to Denton, not because I'm here with you, but because I believe I was born in Syracuse, New York, but I believe that half of my blood was born in the South. My country music, that just God and faith and family and all of that. And my cooking. I love to cook. I love barbecue. I just love good Southern cooking. So
we've got a lot of spots. You need to plan a couple days on the front end and back end, and we'll get you acclimated.
So that's what I'm saying. So I knew where you were leading me. I want Denton to show me why they have the best food in Texas, because I'm not going to say where I went. But I went to a place in Fort Worth that I was told to go, and it wasn't what I expected. So I need Denton to step it up for me in Texas. I need to have a little come up there.
We'll get you taken care of.
All right. Okay. So going off of food and barbecue in the South, I went on a date recently, and I want to ask you what you would do if you were in my position. So I went on a date and I was at a barbecue spot and I licked my fingers because the food is good. Now, the date that I was on said to me, "Why did you lick your fingers? Don't ever do that again. Like, I don't approve of it." What would you have done if you were at a barbecue spot on a date? The barbecue's good, you licked your fingers, and your date told you you're never allowed to lick your fingers again.
I mean, does this date listen to this podcast?
Who knows?
I don't want to get thrown under the bus, but I mean, that'd be a tough one to overcome in the South. Like, we lick our fingers when something's good. We can go wipe them down and wash our hands later, but like in the moment, it's finger food.
That's what I told her. I said, I never thought I'd be asked the question, why do you lick your fingers? So I had to think about it. I said, because the food's good.
Yeah.
I mean, what other reason would you? I mean, if I'm in a restaurant,
trying to conserve paper, I don't want to use as many napkins to wipe off all this sauce. Like, there's a lot of great, explanations for that.
Yeah, but I will tell you that I know you asked, well, do they listen? The dates didn't last long after being told not to lick my fingers to barbecue. So I'm still looking. Maybe that right person, maybe that girl lies in Texas somewhere where she won't yell at me for eating barbecue and licking my fingers.
You'd find one here.
So what's your next question for me?
Since I don't know you, what's your hobbies outside of multimedia and what you do on podcasts?
And I appreciate that. So I have been involved in music, in singing and writing my own music since I was a kid. I've been singing since I was 3. and I wrote over 40 songs up to this point. I've also put music together in the studio. So I love music, screenwriting. I will make a movie at some point in my life. I want to work on a Spider-Man movie. I don't think anybody could make a better one. And that's not my ego talking. That's my passion and love for the character. I was an extra in The Amazing Spider-Man 2 with Andrew Garfield. I want to do The Amazing Spider-Man 3 because I think I have a story that is original in a world that lacks originality in a lot of places. So I would say screenwriting, which I love. Going to the movies, I could do that every week, multiple times a week. I love learning. So music, movies, and I like making people laugh. So I would say comedy, and I'm a huge sports card collector. If you were in the studio right now, you would see that I've hidden so many cards, but they're all over the place, and I have some really.
This doesn't count as my third question, but what's your most prized card you got?
That's a good question. I'm going to grab it right now. It's staring at me.
Oh, you got it.
Yeah, I do. So
it's not locked up somewhere?
Nope, it's right here. So I would say if I had to pick my most prized one, I mean, it's difficult because there's a bunch of ones that I like that I have, but my great uncle or my Uncle Bill, who passed away recently, he gave me a bunch of stuff. And I mean, he had stuff that's in cases. He has packs unopened. He has, Shaquille O'Neal signed sneakers. He had all this stuff, and you weren't allowed to touch it. Like it was in a closet upstairs, and you just didn't go in there. And it wasn't even that it was locked. It was just like you had this respect for him that if you did it, you would like run downstairs and cry and tell him that you opened the door. And so the last time I saw him, he handed me a bunch of stuff. And this was something he gave me, and I'll never forget it. And I'll never sell it. I'll never do anything with it. It's written on the back. This is 105 of 1,000. And it's funny because it has a connection to Texas, ironically. When Nolan Ryan was a Texas Ranger, he signed this card on the card, and it's in a plastic casing. So I have Nolan Ryan's signature, and this is from my Uncle Bill. And every broadcast of Wake Up Call that I do, it is staring at me at almost eye level, and I will never, ever do anything other than honor that in a very important place wherever I am.
Well, that's a great card, but even better connection in the meaning it has to you.
Absolutely. So you just asked me about the hobbies. I want to know your hobbies since we haven't talked about yours.
I don't have many. I'm a creature of habit, so I'm a 5 a.m. workout guy every day of the week. So I love that's kind of my outlet. Love to spend time with my family. We enjoy traveling together. So I like to travel when I can. I do like to play golf. I've picked it back up now that my kids are a little bit older.
Okay.
Not very good. My goal is to try to get where I'm at least serviceable and don't embarrass myself in a round. And I like you. I've gotten into, I love to cook, but anytime I can get the smoker fired up on a weekend and throw a brisket or prime rib or, anything on the smoker, I love to smoke meat.
You said brisket. You had me at brisket because I'm up here in the north, and whenever somebody says, "Oh, da makes brisket," I'm like, "Let me try it first. Don't be telling everybody. Let me see what this is all about." So, yeah, no brisket. That sounds perfect. I just want to know. You talked to me about going to places. I want to know when I'm going to get an invitation to the Mosley household because I want to try the brisket. That's what I want.
Hey, if you come, depending on the weekend you're coming up here, if I'm not busy, I can throw one on the night before I go to bed, and we'll make it lunch. Like we'll just do we'll make it happen.
Hey, God directs you to the right places.
Hey, if we do this, like it's if we do this and it's not freezing cold outside, we can just kick it in my backyard by the pool, and that view out there is not bad either.
See, I told you. That part of me was born in the South.
Open
saying
invite.
all the stuff to me, and I'm like, all right, I'm on a plane where I'm going now. I'm ready. So, final question for me. What is it?
It doesn't have to be athletic personalities, but who's somebody that would be high on your list that you'd like to meet, spend some time with?
That's a good question. If he was still alive, without doubt, it would be Robin Williams. I would say now, Kevin Hart, Dave Chappelle. I would want to spend some time with, and hopefully I will get to, Damon Stoudemire, because I'm a Raptor fan, and he's now at Georgia Tech, and I cover the ACC very heavily. I covered Georgia Tech for about a decade. So I look forward to that. And yeah, I mean, there's a bunch, but in the movie world, I'm trying to think who I'd want to sit down with. I've gotten to meet some people in our Super Powered Pop Entertainment show, actors, actresses, illustrators, writers, authors. So I feel really spoiled with that, like Mark Dodson and who's been connected to Star Wars. So if it was the movie world, I like my guy Anson Mount, who we're building a friendship, so I appreciate him. I'd probably want to hang out with the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh yeah,
because I think the best costume I've ever put together, where I used my actual Walkman with the batteries that are over a decade old and it still works. And God being God, I'm walking around with my godson trick-or-treating, and I turned it on and I put the antenna up. They thought I had programmed songs on it. I was finding radio stations that were playing the Guardians-esque music, and they're like, oh, you put that on there? I go, no, that's God handling the radio. So I would want to meet the Guardians, and I would want to be in their next movie. And I like Chris Pratt, because Chris Pratt being Star-Lord, he has publicly spoken about God and how God loves you and is there for you. And you don't see that in Hollywood. So I think that's a beautiful thing, that one of the front people of a franchise is unafraid to say that God loves you. So I'd want to hang out with Chris Pratt for a little while.
That's one of my boys and I, we catch almost every action movie that comes out. So that's one, every time they drop a new one, we're there as soon as we can get there. So,
well, before I give you the last question, let me tell you how I experienced Guardians recently. So doing the Disney show we do Diz with Dan, and doing Super Powered Pop, this is what I did. I went down to Florida, stayed down in Orlando. The night before the movie came out, I watched Guardians Volume 1, woke up in the morning, finished the rest of it, watched Volume 2, watched the end of the holiday special, the end of the Groot special. Then I went to Epcot, rode the Guardians ride in the front row, then got off the ride and went and saw Volume 3.
That sounds like the only way to do
it. So it was fun. And actually, right over my shoulder here, I have my Guardians of the Galaxy box from the theater, and it has Rocket behind it. So, so it's in the studio. All right. So my last question for you, if you were in the Guardians of the Galaxy, what character would you make yourself, and who would you want to fight?
I don't know that there's anybody I'd want to just pick out to fight, but I mean, I'm always a fan of Chris Pratt's character. Like, I think he's just like I would like to be able to carry myself like just with that kind of swagger.
Okay.
You know, all superheroes should be wired a little bit like he is. It seems like he. I don't know if there's anybody though that I'd say I just wanted to fight in that out of that movie.
Oh, if you see my watch, it has the Infinity Gauntlet, so probably have to go up against Thanos.
Oh yeah, well Thanos would. I mean, if you're going to go for the best, like you probably might as well, go after the top.
Absolutely. So I'm excited about what's to come. Legendary Star-Lord will return, as we know. So with that being said, for Jared Mosley, VP and Director of Athletics at the University of North Texas, in this new era of the American Athletic Conference on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora in our special series. Jared, it's the first time that you and I have gotten to interact, but I am so excited for everything that is to come. And this has been one of my most favorite conversations. God, barbecue, Guardians of the Galaxy. What else do I need?
I mean, hey, the next conversation we'll add to that list, but that's a pretty good start.
Absolutely. Thank you for your time.
Hey, thanks, Dan.
Avicoli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicoli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicoli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there. And of course, you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100. And also find them on myavicolis.com. That's myavicollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying, in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
PB&J's Lunchbox, the food truck that you love finding all throughout central and upstate New York, now has a street-side cafe. So when you're craving their traditional favorites as well as their out-of-box amazing menu items, you can now head to 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. Located just minutes from the highway, the Thruway, Destiny USA, and Onondaga Lake Parkway, PB&J's Lunchbox Street-Side Cafe is there for you Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner all throughout the day. Get breakfast for dinner, dinner for lunch, whatever you fancy, including their award-winning grilled peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Find them at 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. PB&J's Lunchbox, where we love to know what's in your lunchbox. This is a special message from 317 at Montgomery restaurant owner Joel Carpenter. Open Tuesday through Saturday for your dining pleasure on 317 Montgomery Street in Syracuse, New York.
We wanted to be a part of the resurgence of Syracuse. We saw a lot of money being put into bringing people back downtown and thought that, we'd like to be a part of that. I love putting together a good dish where people see it first, they fall in love with it, and then it tastes just as good as it looks. We want to provide the best food in Syracuse that we possibly can, and we want you to leave here talking to your family, your friends about what you had to eat first and foremost, but also our service, and to walk out feeling like you're part of our family. I work out in the front of the house a lot, and I love walking to every single table, asking them how everything is, and people looking at me and smiling and saying, this is the most amazing short rib I've ever had. This is the most amazing filet I've ever had. And Donna is great. Sarah's amazing. Thank you for coming over and talking to us. And them just being truly happy for the experience that they've gotten.
317 at Montgomery Restaurant, part of the fabric of downtown Syracuse, located on 317 Montgomery Street in Syracuse, New York. Open Tuesday through Saturday for a unique and memorable dining experience.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, inside of where sports truly meets that thing called life. I hope you're having yourselves a wonderful morning this morning. I'm so happy to have the opportunity to be here with you every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern time, where sports meets life. Here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, you're with us all throughout the world on youtube.com, pardon me, youtube.com and facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT, as well as on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. You can connect with us on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage on our website and get all of our feeds for Facebook, YouTube, and Podbean all in one place. So make sure that you do that today. And with that being said, it's time for hour number 2, which I'm very excited to share with you, with Papa Joe joining the show inside of MonPazPopcorn.com's What's Poppin'. We have the opportunity to celebrate our time with PJ, as we always do every Thursday in hour number 2 between 10 a.m. and 11 a.m. Eastern time. So Papa Joe joining us here today to speak on a few different things: the Shohei Ohtani Sweepstakes, as well as Major League Baseball, and putting together our Jacksonville Jaguars 53-man roster, as well as a little bit on horse racing. So a lot of great stuff coming up where sports meets life on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. So let's bring in the man of the hour here, PJ on the broadcast, Papa Joe from the Sunshine State, the second home of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora and Dan Tortora Broadcast Media. And here on our 11-year anniversary, wearing my Italy jersey that has the fitting number 11 for 11 years. PJ, how we doing?
Oh, great. I'd like to see that. That's neat. Hey, I'm ready to go. As long as I don't have to get up and walk around, I'm okay.
Well, obviously relax and, give yourself the time to relax and enjoy the day that you have down there. This Italy jersey, I was saying something about it earlier on in the show today, PJ, but my Italy jersey, I bought it when I was a teenager, I believe. And here I am, 37 years old, and I said to myself, I was like, wait a minute. I was like, my heritage means a lot to me, being Italian and Spanish. And so I got that Italy jersey, and I'm celebrating 11 years of my company, and I think the jersey number is 11. That would be a perfect way to celebrate and a perfect kind of, bringing everything together. And sure enough, I bought this jersey 2 decades ago, and what's God do? God's, they say God knows everything, right? So I buy the jersey as a kid, and God's like, yeah, you know what? At 37, when you're 37 years old, you'll go and look for this jersey in your closet so that you can have the 11 for 11 years of your business. And when I bought the jersey, I didn't even have a business yet. So it's just funny how God works, and always purposeful. And I thought it was really cool to be able to celebrate with this jersey this morning. So I'll send you a picture.
Okay.
Yeah, so that coming from PJ here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. Like I said, we got a lot of stuff to unpack. First and foremost, we're going to go to the Shohei Ohtani Sweepstakes. Papa Joe, I told you off the air that I had something interesting here. Joey said, yo, what's up? Happy birthday. So thank you. 11-year anniversary for my company, Dan Tortora Broadcast Media. Shout out from my older brother, who has his fantastic company down in Florida with everything that he does, pressure washing and whatnot, and helping people with their homes and different areas around the great state of Florida. He's done a tremendous job to work tirelessly to build his own business. So proud of you too, bro, and I look forward to your year 11 as well, and then 11 more from that. He also put a ew. So, he sent a little ew. Mine's a little bit different. I do mine like Home Improvement. I do mine like Tim Allen. But, PJ, I told you off the air that the Shohei Ohtani thing was interesting to me because I had put together a list for Shohei Ohtani's sweepstakes. And the list that I had put together had the Texas Rangers, the New York Yankees, the New York Mets, and the Los Angeles Dodgers as potential long-term suitors. For short-term, take them for now, take them for the rest of the season in a trade with the Angels, and then try to see if you can extend him after signing him for a few months. I said the teams that could take him on loan for a little bit, the Tampa Bay Rays, the Baltimore Orioles, and my Arizona Diamondbacks. Well, ESPN comes out with a list yesterday, and it has the Texas Rangers, the Mets, the Yankees, the Dodgers, the Orioles, the Diamondbacks, and the Rays. They added the Giants, but ESPN and I have the exact same list outside of them adding one more team in the Giants. What are your thoughts?
Oh, I don't know, Daniel. I just think the kid needs to just play ball and stay where he is. I know that LA is going to do what's best for the club. Well, just last week they had won 9 in a row or 9 out of 10 or something like this, and then they turn around and they lose 9 out of 10. So, a kid like that who's used to winning around the world, they need to settle down over there. I think they just got to make a statement and say, listen, Ohtani will be a free agent at the end of the year. We're not going to entertain any deals until the end of the year. But then on the flip side of that, they're saying, well, if some team's going to offer us 4 or 5 or 6 picks for him, then maybe we should think about it. But if they say they're going to do that, if they say they're going to move him, then what they're telling to the crowd is that, we can't make it this year. We're too far back. The wild card is going to be out of the question. Winning the division is way out of question. So, what do you say? I guess if you're LA, you gotta put a pencil to it and see what works.
Well, and the thing, I think the reality is, at the end of this season, if they don't trade him by August 1st, then he becomes a free agent at the end of the year. If he becomes a free agent at the end of the year, then he can walk away from the Angels with the Angels gaining absolutely nothing. You go from having the best player in baseball, arguably, to having nothing to show for him. So the argument side of things for me in this, PJ, is that if the Angels don't trade him by August 1st at 6 p.m. Eastern time, they're running the risk of losing him with absolutely nothing coming in and only him going out. Mike Trout hasn't stayed healthy. So if you got Mike Trout going back and forth with his health, unfortunately, and then on top of that, you don't have Shohei Ohtani, and you can't make it to the playoffs with them both, what are you going to do without them? So I think that they have to move him before August 1st, or at least on August 1st before 6 o'clock, because at this point, if they don't move him, they're going to put themselves in a position to have absolutely nothing at the end of this all. So, do I want to see them continue to move forward? Do I want to see them go to the playoffs? Do I want to see them be successful? Of course I do. Of course I do. I want Shohei Ohtani to not just be this fantastic player on a team that's not good, because we see that in sports all the time. You have this once-in-a-lifetime player and no championships to show for it, and it's sad because you love watching the player, but at the same time, what about the legacy and the opportunities that they have? And so listen, there's great players that have been on teams that have never won anything. You think about Dan Marino and you think about Charles Barkley and a bunch of, players, Sean Kemp, Gary Payton, Reggie Miller. So, when push comes to shove, he's a treasure to watch. He's a pleasure to have. He's brought non-baseball fans into baseball, but I feel like where we stand right now, do I want to be the Angels and have to give him up ever? No. But if he tells me in a very honest conversation, we're going to, I'm not going to be here. At the end of this season, when all's said and done, come November, I'm done here. Thank you for all you guys did for me, but I want to be a free agent. I'm going to make a lot of money. I want to test the market. I want to see, what I can get. If his allegiance is not with the Los Angeles Angels, then I suggest that they move him before August 1st so that they can actually have something in return to build toward the future. Because if he's going to leave anyways, you might as well get something right now.
Well, the way I look at it, the Japanese are honorable people. They always have been. They're honest, hardworking. I think that if he and his people get together and tell the Angels, says, listen, he's got to get through the season first. We will guarantee that Shani will be here as an Angel. Okay? We're not sure what the terms are going to be. We're going to knock him out with you, but we will honorably say that he will be here as a Ranger. I mean, as an Angel. Now, with that being said, that's a pretty profound statement, and that doesn't go around too often in sports because everyone's out for themselves. I think if he were to say something like that, or his representatives were to say something like that, would put everything at ease, and then they can simply say, to the other teams, we're gonna hang tight here with Ohtani. Don't say anything about upcoming deals or anything. So good luck with your rest of your season, and so on and so on. That's the way I think about it, and I think that I think he wants to stay there because he's made a nice home there. He's got a lot of Japanese Americans there. Mike Trout, he's a good guy. He really is a good guy. He's a joy to watch. He's a joy to see and look at, and he's a joy to even hear him talk in his brocaded English. So I feel that way about it, and I really think that he's going to hang tough.
Well, in a world where he's set to make the largest contract in the history of baseball, which would beat his teammate Mike Trout's contract, that's the thing is, would you like to see him stay an Angel? Yeah, but he's given them a bunch of years. They've proven that they can't win, and they can't go to the postseason. So, we have Mike Trout with a 12-year, $426.5 million contract. It had a $20 million signing bonus, $77 million this year. So if this is going to be bigger than that, there's people that are saying, maybe Shohei Ohtani is going to have a contract that is running for 10 years, 12 years, 13 years. That's going to be over $500 million, over $600 million over the course of the contract. So, we'll see what this looks like. But with so many teams willing to spend money, we know the Mets are. The Yankees used to be. They still spend a good amount of money, but they don't seem as bullish as they've been in the past when old man Steinbrenner was there. May he rest in peace. And so, but the Yankees, the Dodgers, they talk about him staying in LA and just changing jerseys and going to the Los Angeles Dodgers. If he wants to stay on the West Coast and it's something that matters to him, it can make Arizona enticing, but Arizona, could end up having him on loan and having to give up a bunch of players and only having him for a few months. And, they're in the playoff push, so that could be helpful to them. But, there is the reality, PJ, of some teams trading for him, even if they're not going to be able to keep him after this season, even if they're only going to get him for a few months and then he's going to hit free agency anyways. What would you think of the Arizona Diamondbacks, Baltimore Orioles, or Tampa Bay Rays getting involved in a trade where they give up some players for Shohei Ohtani and only have them from now until October, November?
Well, you can forget the Rays because those people don't spend any money on anything. No. And Arizona has proven that they're awful frugal too. Baltimore has a real good contract for their baseball telecast, so Baltimore's probably an outside shot. But you talk about the big money teams like the Mets. The Mets brought in two Hall of Fame pitchers.
Yeah.
And now they're starting to pitch a little bit better now. But the fact is that the Mets are so far out of it now. they're lost. And look at the Yankees. Garrett Cole's the only one pitching for them, and they're still in last friggin' place. That's where they are, folks. Last friggin' place. All these teams that have a lot of money are spending it. They're not spending it wisely. The Yankees have old players. They either get jettisoned, get rid of them, do something. Ohtani's still pretty young. He's 28, 29. I don't think his arm is going to hold up that many more years. So, if you want to pay him a huge amount of money just for being a DH spot starting, that would be okay. This is a very tenuous situation, and it's scary too, because what you said earlier is true. You're dealing with $500 million here. That's what you're dealing with. You're not dealing with just what he's making now. You're thinking about $500 million contract, and if you're going to trade your guys, if you're going to trade 4 or 5 frontline players, or even marginal players, or even farm players, you're going to have to sign this guy to big money, and now you're going to start all over again with your farm system. He's not going to go to a team that doesn't have money or is not capable of winning. In my opinion, I don't think that's going to happen. I think he's going to be smart. I think he's going to stay where he is, and I think that the Angels also have a lot of dead money too. Anthony Rendon, who is one of my favorite players from Washington, and he signed another $250 million deal, and he's not playing with the darn either for 2 years. Yeah. He's always under the IL list, and so is Trout. So, the Angels, I get frustrated with the Angels because they're my favorite team. And I told you 2 years ago they drafted 15 pitchers. Haven't seen them yet. Couple of them maybe. Yeah. They haven't juiced up the lineup. They gave away an all-star center fielder to the Phillies. So they're stuck with some big contracts too. But LA can swing it because they have so much money over there and a lot of money to spend. Maybe they trade Rendon, or maybe trade a couple of guys down the road if they can hold on to Ohtani. It's just a tough situation, and I don't think that, as I said, the Japanese people are very honorable. So if Ohtani honors his contract and it honors his wishes, then the deal's probably going to get done. We're just not going to hear about it, that's all.
And we'll see. We'll see how this all shakes out. But it looks like they're going to have to really, figure this thing out and figure it out quick, because if they're going to move him, they can look at the opportunity of moving him sooner than later. And if they're able to do that, then they'll put themselves in a position where they, like I said, they can actually, he's going to say goodbye. Now, he could say, listen, I could come back. But, I think about Kawhi Leonard with the Toronto Raptors. Now, he gave the Raptors an opportunity to pitch him after he won a championship with my Toronto Raptors in 2019. He sat and listened, and I appreciated that. They said he wanted to go to L.A., and he ended up going to L.A. to the Clippers. But he said he would listen to Toronto, and, some time went by and some deliberation and whatnot. If you're open to it and there's an opportunity for it, that it's a real thing, then yeah, you could sit there and you can discuss it. But if it's not going to be a real thing and it's not going to come to fruition, then this is where, you have to be willing to say goodbye. And I think that right now everybody's got to be really honest with each other, and they got to be in, he's got to respect them, they got to respect him, because ultimately at the end of this, you want Ohtani to be happy and you want the Angels to be happy. That's how I look at it. Everybody should win in this. And so if the Angels don't have a future with him, then I suggest that he tells them that now and says, listen, this is where I'm at. This is what's going on. And, I appreciate everything that you guys did for me, but we're going to step forward from here, just so they could get to a point where they can make a decision that's going to be most beneficial to them, because they can get a lot of players for this. They can get, a ton of
players a team.
Right. So, to me, I mean, the Mets might start giving up a bunch of stuff. So, we'll see what happens. But ultimately, the Shohei Ohtani Sweepstakes is on right now. And until 6 p.m. Eastern time on August 1st, it is open, this sweepstakes. So maybe we'll see something happen. Maybe we won't. But ultimately, hopefully, something good will get done here. Where would you like to see him go? Let's say he's not an Angel anymore. Where would you like to see Shohei Ohtani?
Oh, that's a good question. That is a good question. Well, my other favorite team is the Milwaukee Brewers, obviously. And they're not afraid to spend a little money, too. I mean, they signed Yelich to several $1 million also. I guess I'd like to see him go to Milwaukee, but they haven't proven to me that they've made the trades necessary to stay competitive. Now, sure, they're good, and they may win their division again this year because it's a lousy division. So I would like to see that. That is a real tough question. That is a real tough question. I mean, I could say the Mets could give them, the Mets could trade Scherzer and Verlander for Ohtani straight up and see what happens there. That's probably nonsensical because I don't think they're gonna get rid of both of those guys. Look at both of those guys have big contracts too, several $1 million contracts. Verlander and Scherzer, and they still got life in their arms. I mean, even though they've been on the IR this year a little bit, not a lot, but they're both throwing the ball good now. The trouble is the Mets are pitiful. They're falling way behind and have no chance of catching up. So, I'm looking at big contracts. I'm going to say, hey, we'll trade you Ohtani for my two Hall of Fame pitchers. How's that sound?
Yeah.
And you go from there. There's going to be some stupid deals out there that people are going to try to put. But most of the deals I think you're going to see are you going to see marginal players and some prospects. And I read the same article as you did. And there's a lot of players I didn't even recognize. So I know that we're talking about project players, and we're talking about market your farm team. So whoever does the due diligence and does their homework is probably going to make the best deal. I don't know. I still think he's going to stay, but to keep the conversation going, there's a lot of teams that would love to have him. Big money teams, big market teams too, like Chicago, Philadelphia, Detroit. Why would you want to go to Detroit? My goodness. But anyway, there's some other big market teams that probably have the money to do it. But the small market team is the one we talked about. In Miami, you can throw in there too. Miami's not going to do anything. Tampa certainly not anything. Zona's playing such good baseball now that I don't think they want to upset the apple cart. So it's a tough question, Daniel, but I don't have the answer.
Yeah, I'm going to put it up on our social media and let people vote on this to get your thoughts. But, where do you think Shohei Ohtani's going to go? So we're going to put it out here, as far as, I look at the New York Mets. When we look at long-term contracts, I'm thinking New York Mets, I'm thinking New York Yankees, Los Angeles Dodgers to keep them in LA, as well as to take a look at the Texas Rangers. We know the Texas Rangers have spent a pretty penny in the past, when they went and got A-Rod and whatnot. So, we'll see what's going to happen here. And if he's on loan, where would you like to see him go? So we're going to put both of these polls up on our Twitter account. That's Twitter at CallDT, CALLDT. We'd love to put them on Facebook, but Facebook doesn't have a polling option, or else I'd put it there. So definitely let us know what you think. Go to Twitter, find us and follow us at CallDT, CALLDT, and vote this morning in our Shohei Ohtani polls. With that being said, PJ and I are going to take a step aside for a fast break. When we come back, we're going to switch gears from baseball into football. We're going to switch fields here and talk with you about the Jacksonville Jaguars. PJ's been wanting to assemble our 53-man roster for the Jaguars for the last couple weeks. We're going to do exactly that right after this fast break. Speaking on Duval, right after this. We'll be back here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Thanks for hanging out.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating. Find them at 201 Old 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York, open Monday through Saturday in-store and all the time online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, you can order all throughout the country at maandpaspopcorn.com. And remember to get your tins, which have in-store half-price refills forever. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, available to you for fundraising and all of your events by calling 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you? This is a special message from Merritt Brady, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Watertown on 1290 Arsenal Street in Watertown, New York.
Chick-fil-A for me has always been about the people. I think it starts with the strength and leadership of the Cathy family. It's just amazing to see a family-run business reach the altitude that they have. Second mile service is something that we embodied at my previous business, and the ability to make people feel like they're the only person at your establishment, that you are there to serve them that day and looking for those extra ways to make them happy, to anticipate what they need next is what makes me tick. And I'm going to have so many opportunities at Chick-fil-A to do that. It's one of my favorite things to eat in the world. My favorite application question or interview question when I'm interviewing is when I get to, have you ever eaten at Chick-fil-A? And a smile hits both their ears. You know, they can't even answer the question for a second. And when I see that, it's like, man, that's going to be a great hire. They already get it. They already feel it. They already know that we're different. The Chick-fil-A experience, it's a real thing. And then, of course, just our generosity and community involvement and making a positive impact in the lives of our team members, our guests, and the community in general, I think is really the secret sauce.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. I hope you're having yourselves a wonderful day today. Today is the 11-year anniversary of Dan Tortora Broadcast Media, which is the company that has within it the products of Wake Up Call, which you're watching and listening to around the world right now. Wake Up Call, our sports show. We also have within Dan Tortora Broadcast Media our entertainment show entitled Superpowered Pop, our Disney tips and tricks and all those great pieces of planning your vacation show and Do Diz with Dan, our on-the-road comic book and collectible shop, really just like pack up and go find places all over the country, comic book trail show. It kind of has, the feeling of like going to different restaurants and stopping in towns and cities and learning about where you're at. With comic book trails, it was born out of a trip in North Carolina to Charlotte and Cornelius, North Carolina, which has created where we are today. So comic book trails and within Wake Up Call, Dan Tortora Broadcast Media, and our dating and relationship show with my co-host from down in St. Augustine herself, Andrea, joining me for Two Mics, No Filter. So we're celebrating 11 years and getting ready to step into the next 11 and then some. We're here with Papa Joe this morning, and we were talking about baseball and the Shohei Ohtani Sweepstakes. I'm putting up a poll right now to let y'all vote in it on Twitter at CallDT. That's CALLDT. We're going to take a look at the depth chart. PJ wanted to put together our 53-man roster as the teams get ready for training camp. It's just a few days away. So as they get ready for training camp, obviously there's going to be cuts happening and moves being made, people brought in, people taken out of the roster. And so PJ and I are here to give you our thoughts on what this 53-man roster is going to look like. We're going to start on the offensive side of the ball. PJ, I'm going to hand it off to you here and what you think about the offense for the Jaguars as far as their roster what you think it'll look like here going into 2023-24.
Okay, we can do that. I think I'd like to go by position.
Yeah, absolutely.
There are some debates that can be had with that, but if we start with the offense, of course, you got to go for quarterbacks. We have Trevor Lawrence and C.J. Beathard. Not going to get any more than that. I don't think they're going to sign anyone. I don't know who's going to be on the taxi squad. So if we stay with that premise for Trevor Lawrence and C.J. Beathard, I think we're safe. Now, if Lawrence gets hurt or Beathard gets hurt or something like that, then they're going to have to scramble. I don't even know who they drafted. I'm so far out of it right now. Running backs, we can talk about. We got Travis Etienne, JaMychal Hasty, Tank Bigsby, and Dearness Johnson. Now, from what I understand, this is how I know about Pedersen. Pedersen likes to use a fullback sometimes. And one of these guys, not Travis Etienne, but Bigsby or someone like, or JaMychal Hasty, would be the fullback. But if he stays with a fullback or just an eye situation or just lone with Etienne, all four of these guys, I think, are going to wind up playing. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think honestly, and like you said, with the quarterbacks, they have Nathan Rourke also there. But yeah, Trevor Lawrence, C.J. Beathard's been there for a minute, so they'll probably just hang with that, I would imagine. Travis Etienne, Tank Bigsby, JaMychal. I mean, they brought in JaMychal Hasty during the season last season from San Francisco, and he's still on the roster now. I imagine that he's going to stay and be utilized. And then, Tank Bigsby, this is another name that we're seeing in the backfield coming out of Auburn. He's a rookie that they went ahead and brought into the team. So, right now, Tank Bigsby on the depth chart that I'm looking at has him as number 2. I think we're going to see Etienne and Hasty, if not Etienne and Bigsby, or maybe a mix of all three. So, yeah, PJ, I imagine that, Travis Etienne will be the number 1 option, but we're going to see probably those 3 guys. Dearness Johnson, who made some hay with the Cleveland Browns when Kareem Hunt and or Nick Chubb was injured over the last 2 years. He could make the team as well, but remember they drafted Snoop Connor last year, and Quadri Allison, who I covered at Pittsburgh with the Panthers, he came onto the team here from the Atlanta Falcons. We'll see who makes it, but I would imagine Etienne, Bigsby, and Hasty. And if I had to choose right now, Dearness Johnson might make the roster.
Okay, I like Bigsby. So with a name like Tank Bigsby, I think he would fit as a fullback good Pedersen.
Yeah.
So let's go to wide receivers. Well, I think we can. Calvin Ridley, of course, I've been waiting for him to play because I love the way the guy plays. He stretches the field, period. Calvin Ridley, Zay Jones, Christian Kirk, Parker Washington, Jamal Agnew. In any order you want to put it. That's the ones that I got.
Yeah, I think, Calvin Ridley, he's going to try and, put himself in a position to be the number 1 or number 2 guy. I think arguably, and I've gone on record of saying this, he could be a top 5 wide receiver in the country if he stays healthy and keeps himself out of trouble. Remember, even though he was suspended last season, that means there's less wear and tear on his body. So as much as he wasn't playing the game, which can work against him, what can work for him is the fact that his body was not being hit by the game. So, we have Calvin Ridley, Christian Kirk, Zay Jones. I believe that they're all going to be, obviously on the team moving forward. Zay Jones had signed a 3-year contract. Christian Kirk had signed a 4-year one. They both reworked their deals a little bit, I think, freeing up some stuff. So Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, Calvin Ridley, Jamal Agnew. Agnew's a jack of all trades. He's a Swiss Army knife. They can use him as a running back, which I would like to see them do more. Maybe pitch it to him, have him run in motion, do a reverse, something like that, because he's a smaller wide receiver. He's a pleasure to talk to. And I think in the return game as a wide receiver and as a running back, and I'd like to see him, even in close situations, red zone situations, to let him carry the ball and make sure they get the ball out to him quickly as a potential running back. Parker Washington, Tim Jones, Kendrick Pryor, Seth Williams, Kevin Austin Jr., Jacob Harris, Jeray Jenkins, Elijah Cooks, Oliver Martin, Jalen Moore. There's a long this might be the longest list of Jaguars wide receivers on the roster going into training camp that I've ever seen. And, I think PJ, they'll probably have 5 or 6. And we know Kirk, Ridley, Jones, Agnew. And then we'll see what other guy can make it of the rest of the bunch, which I think is going to be decided in training camp.
Well, you can't coach speed. These guys these ones that we talked about have got some speed, especially Ridley. Agnew I like an awful lot. And we may even think, Evan Ingram we know is signed a big contract. And I remember Evan Ingram playing wide out a lot last year as sort of a quasi wide receiver tight end. He can be up there in there too. But I think the four guys, Ridley, Jones, Kirk, and Agnew, I think those are the 4 guys that they're going to stick with and get the ball to him. And then Ingram every once in a while he's out there. I like the idea of Jamal Agnew, taking some reverses or taking some screen passes out of the backfield. That would look pretty good too. But when you get to tight ends, there's only really 2 that I want to talk about. That's Evan Ingram and Luke Farrell. Farrell's been with us for a while. He still is a good, usable player. The other 2 players I have are Brenton Strange and Samus Reyes. I'm not too keen on them at all. I think the deal I'm looking at now is before Evan Ingram signed his big deal. So using Ingram and Luke Farrell, maybe another one down the road possibly. I told you last week that Pedersen's son was signed by the Jaguars, and he's a tight end.
Yeah.
So who knows? Maybe the Pedersen kid can work into the play. I think it's a long shot that he makes a team, but he played for a while at a couple teams, and he plays for his dad. So how bad can that be?
Right. I think obviously Evan Ingram just signed an extension, 3 years, $41.25 million. And so, I think obviously Ingram's your guy. Brenton Strange, they drafted early. I thought it was a little strange of a pick, and I said that. I said, pun totally intended, that the decision to draft Strange was a little strange. And no offense to Strange, I just, didn't think they needed it. So, here he's coming onto the team. Luke Farrell also was brought in via the draft. So we'll see, what this is going to look like for all of them. And like you said, his son, Josh Peterson, I think, Luke Farrell has done enough that when they've made some moves, he's remained on the team. So I would imagine he's still going to be on this roster. I would say Brenton Strange, they're going to give him time because they just drafted him. Evan Ingram is under contract, so they have him for a bit. And, we'll see if Doug Peterson's son, Josh Peterson, can make this team. If he does, then that could be a great thing. Could be a thing where he plays with dad for, a little while, and then maybe he joins the coaching staff. Maybe he comes on as a quality control guy and works his way up the ranks. And if Doug Peterson is going to stay in Jacksonville for a while, which right now I'm hoping that he does, if he's going to hang around, then maybe we see Josh Peterson go from playing to elevating to being on the coaching staff with his father, is what I could see happening potentially. So looking at that, I think it's definitely Evan Ingram. And then we got to have, one of these tight ends step up. Ingram's a receiver. And so to have these guys block, Peterson, Farrell, Strange, Prince, Reyes, who's going to block, who's going to be the guy that's going to help out in the rushing game, and who's going to help out in close situations in the red zone and protecting Trevor Lawrence is who I think is going to make this team. But I would imagine right now that Strange and Farrell probably are okay at the moment, but this is Evan Ingram's to lose. Let's go to the offensive line. I said before last year that 2 seasons ago, I said if this team doesn't stay healthy with the line that they have, this line will break and they will find a new line because they've paid a lot of money for a lot of these older guys and they're not going to keep them together if they can't stay healthy. Well, they didn't stay healthy. Trevor Lawrence got beat up and they got a new line last year. The line was better, it was stronger, and better things happened. So now we see an offensive line with Cam Robinson, who every season in recent history has gotten injured. Well, now he's suspended until week 5, which is going to be overseas against Buffalo in the United Kingdom. Ben Bartch at left guard, potentially here, but he's questionable with a knee injury. Luke Fortner, who they drafted last year and I said could play center or guard, has been their center out of Kentucky. Brandon Sheriff, who they got from the Washington Commanders. They gave up Andrew Norwell, who they paid a lot of money to when he was a free agent from Carolina. He went to Washington. Sheriff came from Washington to Jacksonville. And Walker Little, who stepped up last year when needed. He didn't just step up in the season. Walker Little stepped up when the team was trying to make the playoffs, trying to win the division, and in the playoffs. When you can step up as one of the ends of the offensive line and make it look like no starter got injured and nothing changed, that is a ton of credit to Walker Little. When he stepped in, it looked like they did not take a step back or down at all. So he is back, and there is no more Jawan Taylor, go Gators, as he was let go to the Kansas City Chiefs, as they didn't want to continue him on after his rookie contract. Tyler Shatley's still here, who can play guard and center. He's filled in a bunch. And for the first time in forever, PJ, we have something at every position on the offensive line for Jacksonville. It's called depth, and they have it everywhere. They also have a guy at right guard who is named after a famous actor. Well, I don't know if he's named after a famous actor. He has the same name as a famous actor, Samuel Jackson. So for the first time ever, I'm not looking at an offensive line that has two backups that are supposed to play all five positions when need be. Every one of these offensive line positions has multiple backups, and for second string and third string, there's not the same names in multiple places. So we have depth for the first time ever. Cole Van Lanen, as well as Darrell Williams, Cooper Hodges, Samuel Jackson, Shatley, I mentioned, Blake Hance, Anton Harrison, who they drafted. What are your thoughts, PJ, on how we figure out this line and how we figure out Trevor Lawrence's blind side with Cam Robinson suspended?
Cam Robinson's an idiot. I can't say that strongly enough. I mean, coming from a major program like Alabama, and he's got to act stupid and make stupid decisions. You know, I thought that Robinson and Juwan Taylor were going to be those tackles forever with Jacksonville. My opinion, Juwan Taylor never lived up to his billing. In the same way with Robinson, they're good tackles, but they're not great tackles. They should have been great tackles. We shouldn't be having this conversation now. But Taylor's got to go for the money. Cam Robertson's going to sit on the bench. The problem with Trevor Lawrence's blind side is solved. Point blank. Walker Little will be that person. When you're 6'8", 340 pounds, and you played behind Robinson and Taylor and probably outplayed them a lot, he deserves to be there and will be there. Now, the rest of these guys you talked about can all be interchangeable. I like that idea. There's nothing wrong with a pulling guard playing a right tackle if it's a running play or something like that. But Walker Little will be that person on the left side for however long he wants to play. I loved him at Stanford. I thought it was a great pick. I was pissed that he didn't play earlier. But then you got two All-Stars. You had two All-Stars and two All-Americans, Juwan Taylor and Cam Robinson. I mean, he didn't beat them out. He played better than they did on occasion, but he's there. The rest of the guys, Barge, Fortner, Tyler Shatley, Brandon Sheriff, these are all first-class guys. Anton Harrison is new. Cole Van Lauren, I put him in there. I don't know anything about him. But the guys that we talked about up front, I think are going to be. I think it's going to be. I think it should be. It should be the strength of the team.
I mean, listen. They, like I said, they finally have depth, and that I think is incredibly important on this team, on any team, to have depth on the offensive and defensive line. This is the first time in I don't even know how many years where I can look at their depth chart and see, like I said, not only see a name instead of just a dash mark where they're like, we don't know, but a name behind every starter, and not the same name like Tyler Shatley at left guard and right guard that they're not relying on somebody to take care of everything. There is 3 deep at every position. Anton Harrison, as a rookie, might have to step in right away. Now, I imagine Walker Little, they got him at right tackle. With Cam Robinson out, I'd see Walker Little, like you said, go to the blind side to left tackle, and then see between, Josh Wells and Anton Harrison and Cooper Hodges and Coy Cronk and so on and so forth, who can fill in at right tackle and who could take over that position, because I think Walker Little is probably going to step into left tackle. You take your guy with the most experience, who obviously made this team, like I said, look like they didn't go to their second string last year toward the end of the season because of how well he played. I would imagine he has to be your left tackle, and you're going to have to find somebody else to fill in at right as this team gets set without Cam Robinson for the first few weeks of the season, because, he felt the need to find another way to not play in a game besides getting injured. So on the defensive line, we have a set here where the Jacksonville Jaguars only put 3 sets of hands in the dirt, and so 2 DNs and a nose tackle. We have Foye Fatukasi that is there as one of the ends, Roy Robertson Harris as the other, Davon Hamilton in the middle, and then we have Adam Gotsis still here on the team, as well as Henry Mondu and Jeremiah Ledbetter. Bunch of non-household names right now. Roy Robertson Harris, people know. Fatukasi, they know. Davon Hamilton. These guys have all had big plays. Adam Gotsis had some nice stuff a couple seasons ago. So what's your thought about the defensive line? I think it's a little bit trim here. I'd like to see more depth. I'd like to, see if they can work in some guys that have had a lot of years. But as of right now, they made some moves. They brought in Michael Dogby and they've done some things. And Henry Mondu, they've brought in some guys from the league to give them a little bit of depth that don't necessarily have a ton of time on the field. What are your thoughts?
Daniel, the defensive line, I think, lives and dies with the Josh guys. I think Josh is probably going to step in, not step up. He's going to kill it. I think he's probably going to stay up, sit up, stand up, not 3 on the ground. Other than that, I like Devon Hamilton. Adam Gotsis, I like him. Tyler Larsey. These guys, I think, can step up. I think Trevon Walker is probably going to play opposite Josh Allen on linebacker, so I'm not really putting Josh. I'm not really don't want to talk about Josh Allen now, but sometimes he'll have his hands on the ground. I don't think that's enough players, though. Robertson Hamilton. I got Fulunusu Batuski. You got that guy?
What did you say?
Fuller and Runso Fetakuski or something like that. You got that guy?
I don't. I have Raymond Vahansek, Henry Mondu. No, I don't. I don't have the one that you. Are you talking about Fatukasi? Is that okay? Yeah. I got Fatukasi.
Okay. you can put him in there then. I still like Devon Hamilton and Adam Gotsis to anchor the line, and I think they're probably going to play a 3-man rush and the 4 linebackers. I think that's probably where they're going to go with Josh Allen moving all over the place. Javon Walker, I know we talked about him when he came from Georgia. We didn't think he was going to be the first pick because I like that kid from Michigan, who turned out to be an All-Pro, by the way. But I think with Trevon Walker and Josh Allen on the outside linebackers, I think that they'll work out better standing up instead of hands on the ground.
Yeah. I mean, I think, and you brought it up because of the situation of how their defense is assembled. We're seeing guys that, Trayvon Walker and Josh Allen and whatnot, because they have 4 linebackers in this defense running a 3-4, that, you have Devin Lloyd, who was just drafted, who comes on to was drafted recently, who comes on to the team, drafted back in 2022. Foye Oluokun, who definitely came up big this past season. Trayvon Walker, who was the number one overall pick this past season. Josh Allen, who got out of the shadow of the Buffalo Bills quarterback Josh Allen by having himself a good season this past season. Kayvon Chasen coming from LSU. We'll see if he can make the team as they drafted him, but he hasn't been a dominant force in this. And then Chad Muma, who's definitely stepped up, this past year, and seen some good things from him. Shaquille Quarterman, who I covered in college. Yasir Abdullah. There's a bunch of guys at linebacker here. A lot of depth at linebacker. We'll see how many of them stick around, but Josh Allen, Trayvon Walker, Devin Lloyd, Foye Oluokun. This might be one of the best, if healthy, one of the best linebacker cores and younger linebacker cores in the country with the opportunity of playing together for a long time.
True. With Trayvon Walker and Josh Allen anchoring the outside linebacker, you can put Jason in there too, Dixon. Inside linebacker is a whole different story. But I like the outside linebacker. I just like the way that Trayvon Walker and Josh Allen will stand up and play. I think it helps the defense tremendously. You've got guys that fast that can sprint from the corners and really hem in the quarterback. So inside linebacker. How do you pronounce that guy's name?
Foye Oluokun.
What the hell kind of name is that, for crying out loud?
It's a one that many people say wrong, but him and I would like to think have been building a good relationship here. And because I went up to him and I said Foye Oluokun, and I had said it right, and I was like, yeah, I heard a lot of people don't say it right. So Foye's. Well, I can pronounce, Foye Oluokun, but he's been great for the team.
I'll say Big O from now on.
Big O.
Inside we got Big O, Devin Chad Muna, Yasser Abdullah, Ventura Miller, and some other guys you can throw in there too. I think the inside linebackers are going to be key too, but the key to the linebacker scores and the key to the defense are the outside linebackers of Walker and Allen. I don't care what else you say. That's the key right there.
Yeah, so, I mean, and I agree. Listen, these guys rushing the quarterback and the opportunity, the thing about what they did was bringing in Trayvon Walker, which I was hoping would be a good decision because you and I kind of wanted Aiden Hutchinson. We did, and Trayvon coming from Georgia, the big thing about him and the selling point, reflecting on it hindsight 2020, is that he played three different positions. And so, we see this guy who could put his hand in the dirt or stand up. Josh Allen put his hand in the dirt or stand up. Kayvon Chasen put his hand in the dirt or stand up. And so bringing in guys like that, even though the coaches have changed, they've still continued to bring in these hybrid guys that have been really good for this team and successful, which has been awesome to see. We head to the back line of the defense, the corners and the safeties. At corner, Darius Williams, who stepped up last year. Tyson Campbell, who was drafted high out of the OHIO, Ohio State. My guy Trey Herndon is still on the team here, hoping that he can make some hay in the rotation because he stepped up big when they traded Jalen Ramsey away. Chris Claybrooks on the team, Monteric Brown, Gregory Jr., a bunch of names here. Tavon Campbell has been retained here on the team. And then at safety, Rayshon Jenkins, who had himself a heck of a season last season. I had a ton of fun talking with him. And my guy from Syracuse, the Andre Cisco I call it the Cisco Chronicles, being with him all throughout the season, chronicling his time in the NFL after covering him at Syracuse. The Cisco Chronicles will look to continue by the grace of God this year. God bless. And Andre Cisco worked his way from third-round pick to starting free safety on the team as he's still under his rookie contract. My guy Dewey is doing his thing. Andrew Wingard's back on the team. Daniel Thomas, got some awesome guys here. Love getting to know them because, putting the face to the name and actually getting to speak to them face to face means the world to me, and it really brings this roster to life. But I like this back line. Tyson Campbell, I hope he put on some meat here on his bones. I think that's helpful. The speed can be there. I think if he's bulked up a little bit, that's great. Cisco's been getting better. Rayshon Jenkins, he banked on himself. He bet on himself, and it worked. Darius Williams, like I said, he stepped up, and Dewey, Andrew Wingard, Daniel Thomas, Trey Herndon. They got backups that can be starters if they need to, and I definitely like that about this team.
Again, this is a strong point of the team. We're looking at these players and we're saying, yeah, this guy played well. This guy played well. Cisco surprised me a little bit coming out of Syracuse, but I think he wound up starting a little bit in his beginning years. So Tyson Campbell, Darius Williams, Trey Hendon. I mean, the cornerbacks are awesome. Safeties, Andre Siska, Rashawn Jenkins, and our main man, Andrew Wingard. Can you believe that a slow white guy is still playing football? It's great to hear. I love it. He's a very good player, and he hustles. He hustles. So I think that's the strength of the team, Daniel, along with the outside linebackers. Inside interior line's got to shore up a little bit, but with the linebackers we got and the cornerbacks and safeties, I think it's going to be a good year. It's going to be very, very good.
My man, do I love my guy Andrew Wingard. So we head to special teams as we put together our 53-man roster for the Jaguars as they get ready to go into training camp here. PJ and I will be updating this as things are updated with the moves that are happening, but this is your prequel to training camp, which I think is a lot of fun for Jaguars fans here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Punter Logan Cook, one of the best punters in the country. Why? Because you never have to worry about him. That's the thing. When a punter is good, a lot of number one, if a punter's good, you know their name, and you could get up and go to the bathroom. When your punter's bad, you can't. When your punter's good, you can get up and say, okay, you know what? I'm going to go grab a hot dog and come back to my seat. Logan Cook's one of those guys that you go grab your hot dog, relax, come back to your seat. So he is there. We have long snapper Ross Matisic, and we also have Jamal Agnew, who I mentioned is a punt returner and kick returner on the team. They got Christian Kirk potentially being a punt returner. This is interesting here, depending on the role of Calvin Ridley and what that does with Kirk. JaMychal Hasty as a kick returner, find this interesting, and Chris Claybrooks here and if JaMychal Hasty gets moved there, then maybe Tank Bigsby is going to be the second guy behind Travis Etienne in the backfield. And the kicker is the man that can boot it from very far away, Denver Bronco. Brandon McManus came over to the Jacksonville Jaguars and broke my heart because I'm happy that McManus is in, but the guy that I think could have been the Jaguars kicker for the next 10, 11 years, Riley Patterson, who I covered at Memphis, was let go to bring in Brandon McManus, which I understand you want to win now and you probably have McManus for the next 2-3 years, but Riley Patterson was a guy that they'd have for a really long time, and he's a big part of why they made it to the playoffs and won the division. So I am very sad about the decision to get rid of Riley Patterson. I know the experience of McManus and the success. It's just, they want to win right now, and I think with Riley Patterson they could have sustained winning long term, because I don't think Brandon McManus is going to be in the league maybe 2-3 years from now. But I'm happy that he's here. I respect what he's done. I'm sad about Riley. What are your thoughts about the special teams?
That's a tough one. When that came down, that was really tough to take. Patterson is just a good player. He's got a strong leg. But McManus, is a proven winner out there. Get back to the kick returners. I think, again, what I said earlier is you can't coach speed. Yeah. I think if you put Calvin Ridley back there and he doesn't get killed, I'd like to see him sprint up the field somehow with a catch. Hopefully he hangs down on the ball. But we got a lot of good kick returners. Agnew, of course, did a great job. And you got some speed, some burners with Ridley. So I'd like to see them give Ridley a chance to hang out on the ball and sprint up the field. Yeah.
I mean, we'll see. But I mean, this is pretty, figured out, except for who's going to be behind Agnew specifically. Is it going to be Kirk? Is it going to be Hasty? We'll see. Logan Cook, though, Brandon McManus, Jamal Agnew, good work there on the special teams unit. So there's our look at the Jaguars and how we view their roster stepping forward into the season as of right now, as they get ready to go into training camp in these preseason games, which could change everything or could change a few things or change Nothing. So we shall see what happens here.
If we have this conversation a month from now, half of these guys could be gone. You know, that's the way it would, when you try to figure these things out.
Yeah, and I think that's usually the case a lot with the wide receivers. You know, I mean, the Jaguars are not going to keep, as of right now, you know, we're looking at 14 receivers that they have. You know, maybe they'll have 7, something like that. Maybe, you know, put some guys on the practice squad. So God bless to everyone. I never want to see anybody fail. Definitely want to see everyone succeed. So God bless to you all on every team in the USFL, in the indoor leagues, in the XFL, in the NFL, to make these teams and to be able to do what you love and love what you do. So many thanks and God bless on all of that. PJ, before I let you go, we're going to get to my Shohei Ohtani polls that I put up on Twitter because we've already gotten a bunch of responses, but I want to go to horse racing here for a second, and then any other notes you want to make on Major League Baseball. So horse racing and baseball, I'll set you free for that, and then I'll finish off here with some Shohei Ohtani polling news from the polls that we put up on social media.
You want me to run through the standings?
If you'd if you'd like to.
Okay, hold on a minute.
Yeah. So PJ, what we'll do is we'll take a step aside as PJ's getting everything set here. We'll be back right after this on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life.
That's a good idea.
In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you.
I'm George Townsend of Honda City with some good advice when buying a new car. The true cost of owning a new car is determined by the appraised value when you trade it. No vehicle appraises higher than a Honda. Next, look for low APRs and deep discounts. You also want low maintenance costs and great fuel economy. That's why my advice to you is to buy a new Honda. Looking pre-owned, visit our Honda Certified Used Car Center. Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard, Liverpool, or HondaCity-CNY.com.
It would be a pity if you don't shop at Honda City.
Our corporate purpose at Chick-fil-A is to glorify God by being faithful stewards of all that's entrusted to us and to positively influence all those who come in contact with Chick-fil-A. And what became increasingly clear from our success in Cicero is that people love Chick-fil-A. And also I think we recognized that, we had a great opportunity to grow the brand and grow our platform. I felt incredibly grateful when I was selected to be a Chick-fil-A operator. I think what it's meant for me, what I've come to realize on a very deep level is that this is a calling for me. It's not a career. It's not a job. The Lord called me to be a Chick-fil-A operator and to use these restaurants to glorify Him and to positively influence other people. I'm blessed. I'm very blessed.
Head to Chick-fil-A Clay on 3974 State Route 31 in Liverpool, New York.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life, here every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Spending some extra time with you here this morning as we finish off with a little bit of baseball and, of course, getting into our Shohei Ohtani polls that are up on Twitter live right now. You can vote by following our Twitter feed at CallDT, that's CALLDT, and voting in those polls, and I'll be giving an update on them shortly. PJ, I will unleash you here. I know there's a couple notes you want to make on baseball, so what did you want to talk about here for Major League Baseball?
Well, I look at the American League East, and I see Baltimore and Tampa Bay are tied at the top. Different records, but the games behind are 0. The Red Sox are second last place. Yankees, folks, are in last friggin' place. Why? Because they were 2-8 last week. The Orioles were 8-2. Tampa Bay was 3-7. So a mediocre team like Baltimore is now leading the league with all these hotshot players and all this money. Embarrassing. If you're a Yankee fan, go hide somewhere. The Yankees are 9 games back, and frankly, have got very little chance to even get a playoff. I mean, even to get a wild card. So forget about it. The Yale Century goes nowhere. The Twins are still leading that barely with a 500 record. The West, you got the Rangers and the Astros. Everyone else is far behind, including my Angels, are 9 games behind. I'm embarrassed to say that they're my favorite team. So let's go to the National League East. The Atlanta is far better than everyone else. Everyone else is far behind, almost 10 games behind. The Central got my Brewers up top. The Reds are 2.5 behind. But the Reds were, last time I looked at this, last week, the Reds were in first place, the Brewers were in second. Well, the Brewers were 7-3 last week, the Reds 3-7. So there you have it right there. And the West, with the Dodgers and Diamondbacks and the Giants, are all just about equal. They're all almost have the same record. The Dodgers are up on a game and a half. It's good baseball in the West. And frankly, next week maybe, or the week after that, we can talk about potential playoff teams. So there's still a lot to be done in baseball, a lot to be playing for, but it doesn't look good for a lot of our favorite teams. And even the New York Mets, I mean, my goodness, the Mets are 16.5 games behind with 2 Hall of Fame pitchers. 2 Hall of Fame pitchers. They're 45 and 50. Alonso comes off the injured list. He's not hitting himself. He's still hurt. He's got a couple home runs after he gets off it. Forget about it. Now you want to talk about horse racing. Saratoga is the premier meet in the country every year for a little over 2 months. Trainers come in from all over the country, mostly from the Midwest and the East. The West, they got their own little deal over there. They don't count to me over there. There's all the jockeys are here. That's for sure. Every single the top 15 jockeys are all here at the spa, and the best trainers are here, of course. You got the Chad Browns, Todd Pletcher, Brad Cox, Bill Mott. I mean, you could put a blanket over 10 trainers, the top 10 trainers. They're all here. They're all loaded for bear. This racing is the best you're ever going to see. So if you can, try to pull it up on Fox Sports or Fox Sportsnet 1, or if you want to spend a little money, not a lot of money, but you can go right into the NYRA circuit and get attached to their website, and you can get all the information and watch the races every day, which is what I do. So there's a lot to be said for thoroughbred racing. Next week I'll be a little bit more detailed because there's some areas that I want to cover that you'll probably read about in the next week or so. Okay, bud.
Yeah, so just to give a little update here really quick, want to make a note about this. For those of you that have voted in our polls, as always, I thank you and I appreciate it so very much. Voting in our polls on Twitter all throughout the year, and right now up on Twitter, and they will end next week around this time. I put, who do you believe will sign Shohei Ohtani to a long-term contract if he doesn't stay an Angel? As of right now, 37.5% say the Dodgers, 33 1/3 say the Rangers, 16.7% the Yankees, 12.5% the Mets. Another poll. If the LA Angels trade Shohei Ohtani before the August 1st, 6 p.m. Eastern Time trade deadline, who do you believe will have him on loan? 57.9% say the Rays, 31.6% the Orioles, 10.5% the Diamondbacks. So we'll see how these polls continue on throughout the week. And as always, PJ, much love to you and the family, and I'll talk with you soon.
Okay, thanks, Daniel. Bye.
Take care. That coming here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life. We appreciate you being here every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, facebook.com/wakeupcalldt, and on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. Once we go live, we jump into the archives, and you can find us on Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, MixLR, Player FM, Podbean, Podvine, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, YouTube, and more by searching Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora or one word, Wake Up Call DT. Thanks to our incredible partners, Carvel DeWitt, the Wildcat Sports Pub, Mon Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, 317 at Montgomery Street, Mother's Cupboard, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Chick-fil-A Watertown, Avacoles, Great Lakes, Honda City, Chick-fil-A Cicero, and Chick-fil-A Clay, Avacoles, GG Cards and Breaks, PB&J's Lunchbox, and Pizza Man, and of course, mentioning GG.
GG Cards and Breaks. Like, comment, subscribe.
GG Cards and Breaks available to you on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York. I just unveiled yet another one of my card breaks, my box breaks. Go and check it out on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt and on all of our social media outlets. GG Cards and Breaks open 7 days a week for your hobby pleasure. 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York, right off of Teal Avenue, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Saturday, 10 to 5 on Sundays. And of course, we are proud to be the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your Lemoyne College Dolphins. It's Fins Up every single month on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Find your Dolphins here on Wednesdays during Dolphin Time, AD and DT, the first and third Wednesday of each month, featuring Athletics Director Bob Beretta and myself, Dan Tortora. The second and fourth Wednesday, jumping into the Dolphin Dive, diving into stories of student athletes, coaches, administration, future Dolphins, and more. You can get all this content by going to our Lemoyne archive on the Lemoyne tab on wakeupcalldt.com, as well as by subscribing to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. For more information on your Dolphins, go to LemoyneDolphins.com, and as always, Fins Up. The Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, featuring national championship teams in men's and women's soccer, national tournament advanced teams, the teams that got to the national tournament in men's and women's basketball, the inaugural season finishing up with their baseball team making history in a unique way, and their up-and-coming esports program. You can catch student athletes, administration, and coaches joining me in a way that Bryan and Stratton Syracuse has never had before when it comes to the spotlight created by the Bobcat Buzz on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, by the grace of God, being able to share these stories with you. We have two awesome, unique things I've never done in 19 plus years of being a broadcaster. We'll be airing those this coming week of July 24th with the Bobcat Buzz, so don't miss a second of that. And of course, you can catch all our content on the BSC Syracuse tab on wakeupcalldt.com by subscribing to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt as well. For more information, go to syracuse.bscbobcats.com, and as always, go Bobcats. The Alfred University Saxons here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, our proud exclusive multimedia marketing partners. The Alfred University Saxons bring us a very unique approach to the athletic world, as we have 28 sports programs, including Wake Up Call being connected to, for the first time ever, and Dan Tortora Broadcast Media, to alpine skiing and equestrian teams, as well as women's rugby. And we have on Mondays, we have Saxon Time happening with you every Monday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. First and third Monday is the Presidential Perspective, featuring President Mark Zupan of Alfred University. Second and fourth Monday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time, the Saxon Spotlight with student athletes, coaches, and administration, telling the stories of Alfred University. You can catch all our content on the Alfred U tab on wakeupcalldt.com, as well as by going to our youtube.com/wakeupcalldt channel. And for more information, go to gosaxons.com. And as always, like it says, go Saxons. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, this has been an amazing show. I feel like we've been on the air all day here. We had a lot to get through on today's show. Very excited about it. Big thanks to Jared Mosley joining wake-up call for the first time ever as he stepped into the seat of the vice president and director of athletics at the University of North Texas for the Mean Green, and him going into his first season as the leader of the athletics department, but having been in the athletics department and spent his entire career from student athlete to professional career in the great state of Texas. Jared Mosley here with us on Wake Up Call in our New Era series featuring the American Athletic Conference with all of the teams that are coming into the conference, including today's spotlight on North Texas. Papa Joe, thanking him as always for being a fantastic person in my life, and I love you so much. And to Mary and Joey, and to Boom Boom and Marissa, the cats as well, and to Up in Heaven, Spartacus. So, Major League Baseball, Shohei Ohtani, the Jaguars, horse racing, and more. Big thanks to Papa Joe. Thanks to you. Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, Twitter at Call DT, Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT. As always, God bless, no stress, do your best. 11 years, baby. And we just gotten started. God is good.